Hey everyone, we're going to look at another iteration of the Rebel Post deck. This time I've decided to go with red. Um, and there were a couple of red decks out there, and I actually kind of like this one a little bit better because of Karavic's Torches. Basically, you get to do something other than, search for more 1/1 guys or search for more 2/1 flyers when you have a bunch of Cloud Posts and Glimmer Posts out there, or basically a bunch of mana. You can end the game in fairly quickly. If anyone has watched the very first one, my my very first test game with the Rebel deck was actually against another Rebel deck, and he instantly had the Ulamog's Crusher in his to sort of ramp into, which I thought was interesting to say the least. So some of the lists I've seen for White-Red Rebels ran 3 Karavic's Torches. I've decided to run 1 Crusher over the Karavic's Torch. Some of the other choices they had were Death Spark, which I kind of like. Definitely helps in any of the creature matchups. Basically, if you can get Death Spark rolling, it becomes very hard for your opponents to keep creatures in play. They also ran 1 Explorer Scope, which I don't feel is that terrible. It's not great, especially when you can't really set up your library, but I'm trying to be as close to his or the original list that I've seen to get a feel for it before I start changing it. The only thing that I really do after playing this deck a couple of times that I feel is that we really should have 4 expedition maps in there. And the reason is because we really don't have any card drawing for, say, land. Like we have card drawing in our Rebel searches, and that basically tapping 4 mana and tapping a Rebel and searching is sort of like drawing a card and putting a creature into play. But if you compare it to, like, say, Blue-Red Post or even the Blue-Black Post deck, they have basically card draw to help them try to dig for more Cloud Posts or more Glimmer Posts. Since we actually don't have that card draw capability, I do feel that you should probably be running 4 expedition maps, so that way you can always get your Cloud Posts. Some of the other thing that I noticed was that the versions that I saw were running all 4 of basically, I call these the Karoo lands. Some people call them the Rav Bounce lands, however you want to say it, but they were running 4, which I actually kind of like. Even though we do have Enter the Battlefield tap lands in Cloud Post, and it may slow us down a little bit. If we don't draw Cloud Posts, this is also basically sort of a free land, basically. What I mean by that is if you draw 1 Boris Garrison and 1 Plains, you've essentially drawn 3 land, or you have 3 mana sources to work with. So again, it does have prismatic strands. The versions that I saw are actually running 4 prismatic strands. Again, I don't know how well those particular decks did. Unfortunately, I only own 3 prismatic strands. I was gonna go pick up another one. Unfortunately, they cost like $4.50 at the moment. So before I spend $4.50 on 1 prismatic strands, I'd like to see if it's gonna possibly make a difference. Instead of having 3 instead of having 4. So we're gonna save it and get in a couple games here real quick. I know I said that I was gonna possibly try the green Rebel Post deck, and I had been thinking about it for some of the day, and I've been thinking about it, like, sort of what cards I'd want in there, what cards would be good as far as what green would have to offer, basically, instead of, say, black or red or even mono white cards. And some of the cards that I thought about were like Reap and Sow, Crop Rotation. As far as green-white goes, I was thinking about Armadillo Cloak. I really like Armadillo Cloak. Also, Rancor instead of, say, Bone Splinter or Bone Splitters. Sorry. But really, what it boils down to is that the deck has so few non-rebel slots. Like, it's really tough to, say, play Crop Rotation over expedition map, and then say play Reap and Sow over Karavik's torches, or possibly even the Rebel Tappers. This is pretty much a mulligan, and the reason why I say that is because we have Karavik's Torch, which we're not going to probably cast in the first 5 to 6 turns. So I feel that we can probably get a better hand out of 6. So I'm actually going to mulligan this. And this is a little bit better. Again, it's a mulligan due to Karavik's Torches, but we have a Cloud Post this time, so I'm actually going to keep this one. Explorer Scope is not that great for us with what we have, but we'll see how it goes. I maybe should have laid Terramorphic Expanse instead, just in case I do draw land. I can cast the Lieutenant. Red, green, so this is probably going to be some sort of red-green Madness deck, or a Madness Threshold hybrid. As far as Pauper goes, and I forgot to search for my land. I just like to apologize that my test games, I've not been super on point when I've been playing them. I guess my mind seems to wander a little bit. This actually, okay, so it's going to be some sort of Rug Threshold deck. I would find it amusing if he just decided to discard his entire hand, although he only gets Threshold 5, so I guess that's not right. Although Basking Root Wallow might come out. No? Alright. Well, Death Spark is good. And, just that was a mistake again. I needed to actually play the Sergeant, because right now I have to draw a Glimmer Post to be able to use this particular guy, if he was going to live, which doesn't appear that he was going to. Kind of disappointing to be stuck on lands. But, sometimes it happens. We are running, what are we running, 22 lands with 4 Boros Garrisons, so it's not like we're guaranteed to draw all of our mana sources. So he had another Firebolt, and now he can flash back Firebolts. Yeah, I've never really been a big fan of Flashback and Threshold, or Threshold and nothing that's actually cantripping you into spells. It just doesn't seem that great. Because you basically have to wait till turn 7, possibly even further. Kinda need to attack with this guy. No. Let's see what's gonna happen. This guy's gonna go Hellbent. This guy's gonna be a 6/6. And this guy will be I can't even attack. This guy will be a 4/4. So we'd have like 15 points of damage coming across. I must say, not the greatest start to the red-white version, but we'll see what happens here. So we do 3 Firebolts. So now everything's going to be hellbent. Well, at least this guy doesn't have Threshold, I guess. It's my only saving grace. guess I could have blocked Wild Mongrel just to make him discard whatever card he has. If he's not discarding it now, he obviously wants it for something. So again, probably another mistake. Expedition map, does that help me in any way not die next turn? I can get Glimmer Post here, but that's not really going to save me. 15, so this will be 10. 14. And that is the game. It's strange, I don't see Gathan Riders actually cast for their mana cost. Typically they're put down for their morph cost. And then somebody just discards a card. Although he pretty much had everything that he wanted. Triple Firebolt is going to be hard for us, especially when they get the mana to flash it back. Because that means we have to draw basically 7... we gotta get 7 Rebel Searchers out there. And even this guy's waiting to play, I mean, we just played him, so he obviously doesn't want to play us again. Well, I gotta say, I'm not hugely fond of our Karavix Torches and Ulamog's Crushers so far, because they're just sort of like mulligans. I mean, they'll be nice if I can get, you know, 8 mana to play them, or in Karavix Torches instance, enough mana to actually cast them. But, well, that's not great for us either. Maybe we should have led with the 2-1 first. Just because the flyers are relevant. I feel discard coming up. I think this is is it Tavis or Travis Wu's deck? Which is kind of why I'm happy we have this guy. Because I don't believe it has any sacked removal spells. Although I do have a feeling I'm gonna end up discarding a bunch of cards here in a minute. I'm gonna start pecking away here a little bit. Actually, I could have probably got in with both, because I'm just going to get, probably going to get up a Rift Watcher if he decides to attack. This is what I was talking about, the instances where I wanted 2 Nightwind Gliders and 2 of the Pro Red guys, just so you could get offensive with one, and still have one for defense, or even if I just needed to double block something. That is actually not terrible for us, just because we can put that Falcon back and then search for him if we wanted to. Which I think I am, just so I can get some more flying beats in. Actually, we're gonna go with this guy. That's super great to start. Well, he's got to read them, folks. because let's face it, how many times do you actually see this guy? Almost never. Alright, that was good for us. Could be worse. If you had like multiple carrion feeders, that would be a problem for us. Especially because they would get big, very big, very fast. Let me make sure I'm grabbing the right lands here because I've screwed this up so many times. Cloud Post. I even screwed up tapping my mana. I just need to slow down. I just need to slow down and concentrate a little bit more. And thankfully with our test games, I learned something the other day, is that even if he blocks here, I still get to kill him before combat damage. So even though you can't really take the test games to heart, it's good to know how some of your cards interact, because I didn't realize that, even though, you know, pretty much explains it on the card. Stinkweed Imp. That guy makes me sad. Ooh, he's getting a little feisty. Let's see, what do we want to get rid of? Oh, and then he concedes. Yeah, pro black guy definitely definitely swings that matchup into our favor, since they don't run any main deck way to kill it. And even though we have Children of Corliss, I actually think I'm going to just try to get maximum, just some extra value out of our Glimmer Posts. By extra value, I mean I gain an extra life. It's a little relevant here. Definitely want to cast Rift Watcher next turn. Kind of wish I could search for the Corliss. The reason why I want to be able to search for him is I think I do have 2 of them in the deck. Because if he's on the Grape Shot plan, I can wait until the last Grape Shot. Fortunately, it's not so great with Empty the Warrens, but just for those that aren't sure, this is going to be some sort of Teps deck, or the Perfect Storm deck, where it's using basically a bunch of spells, card draw, and mana accelerants, like say Seething Song, or Dark Rituals. This one seems to be a mono red version. Or just straight up blue red. It's kind of strange that he decided to cast Lotus Petal first, before Manamorphous. Just because if he doesn't plan to storm this turn, it's basically a free spell he burned. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. It's not like he's under a tremendous amount of pressure. So this is probably a blue-red version. I think only the blue-red versions run Impulse. And it's sort of a modified version of what I was running a long time ago. No, he's just going to cast a bunch of... and I think I'm going to be dead. Bushwhacker. I get to only block, so it's 4, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm taking 28 to the face. Yep. I guess I only took 26, but... oops. I meant to say good game to him. I didn't. I was clicking too fast, so... who's that? Crom123, sorry about that if you're watching. Didn't mean to just seem like I was rage quitting. Definitely was not. I've played enough Storm and played against it enough to know it sometimes just goes, whoops, I've won. It would be interesting to see what his hand was. Just because I'm wondering if he was missing a piece, because he sort of paused there when he cast the Manamorphous to generate red-blue and then cast Impulse. I know I've done that plenty of times where I'm like, whoops. And I'm going to mulligan this because we don't really have any more mana sources. This one I will keep though, even though we don't have a white. If this wasn't plains, we would have been much happier. Now I think we're going to probably end up dead, just because this hand is very slow. So I really like the Boris Garrisons, or the Karoo lands as I call them, or the Rav bounce lands in theory, but they're really proving to be much too slow. I feel like if we're going to keep playing these, we need to have more reliable ways to interact with the board on the early turns. And quite honestly, having 3 Death Sparks and 1 Mountain, that's not really the equivalent of being able to interact with the board in a meaningful way early. Because first off, we only have 4 ways to get our 1 Mountain, either drawing it naturally, having Terramorphic Expanse, and that's pretty much it. And then not only on top of that do we not only need one of those 4 lands, but then we also need the Death Spark to go along with it. In this case, it would be a great top deck if I could get Death Spark here. Not that I wouldn't think it would do too much. So you take 5 to the face here. Double invigorate, no. And I'm pretty sure I'm dead, but we'll see. Typically if he lays a land, I'm definitely dead. And good game. So, turn 3, not all that uncommon. Well, maybe it is uncommon. I think it's like around, I don't know, my best guess, 10 to maybe 20% for Infect to kill on the 3rd turn, just the way that it's set up. But, it's definitely something you have to plan for, because any of the Storm decks are also capable of killing on first, second, or third turn, so if we're not able to either survive those early turns, I'm not sure if these are just bad draws or if the deck is just not configured properly, because like I can't keep this hand even though we would get access to all of our colors. We could interact with the board in some way to start with. I'm gonna try this one. I don't feel it's a great hand, but I get kind of a sinking feeling. I have a bad feeling this might be Elf Ball, because it could be green-white tokens too. There's not too many decks that run Essence Warden, other than, interestingly enough, our first Suggest the Next deck where we made Elf Ball, or Elves, as it's typically known, at least in Pauper. Maybe it's a mono green deck that's running Essence Warden's main as sort of a sideboard cards. I'm not really sure. I'm trying to think what I'd like to play. So I just want to get rid of this. I want to get rid of this one because I don't want to accidentally bury my Death Spark. But I do want to do it. I do want to Death Spark on my turn, in case he's got some sort of pump or growth spells. I don't want to take a bunch of extra damage. And unless he's running main deck LD, Death Spark should be safe. Now watch him Thermal Karst my land, and then I'll just cry. Cry like a 4-year-old schoolgirl. And trust me, you don't want to hear that. This is very strange. I'm very confused as far as what yeah, I feel this version would be better, especially that we have all the come to the battlefield tap lands. I'm hoping he's not going to go Huntsmaster. Oh, he's about my worst. It's about the worst thing that could have happened to me right there was Timberwatch Elf. Oh, now I want to get Cloud Posts down. And I can't even search. Well, we gotta start laying them. I guess maybe I get lucky here with Explorer Scope. Stranger things have happened. Definitely don't think he's gonna block. That was not a land for us. Explorer Scope might be better actually in the Brainstorm version. That's even worse for us. Just like Quirine Ranger and just be done with me. We're going to move the Explorer Scope because I'm definitely not attacking with the Armor Scout this turn. I feel that I might attack with the Sergeant next turn, even though, well, we'll see. If we can get another Cloud Post into play. Yes. More elves. Elves, 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 elves. I wish I had a pro-green guy. Just take 9 to the face. My problem is I don't know what he has in his hand. Like if he had more elves, I think he would have cast them. I actually wish I could buy this guy back. We might put this guy in the black-white version with disturbed burials that some people have made suggestions on. Definitely gonna get this back here. Four mana, right? No, this is 5 mana, 6 mana total. I guess we don't have to use it right away. I guess I can actually kill. Yeah. It's the only thing I stopped and thought about it here. I can actually kill a Timber Watch, which will be extremely beneficial. Well, as long as he doesn't have some sort of pump spell, which I'm guessing he does, just because he hasn't cast anything, unless he's sitting on a bunch of land, unfortunately. I guess he is. Or he's... Those are the only two things that I could possibly think of. And the good thing here is I don't have to waste my good guys to chump block. Yeah, sort of an unfortunate draw for the elf player, but it definitely had to happen in enough games. I don't feel my opponent has played particularly well. He probably should have been using these guys defensively at this point. Just my personal take on it. I'm not saying that's 100% right, but especially when the Zealot and Vec got out. I probably should have attacked first, just so that there's a greater chance that their land would be on top. I do kind of like that interaction though, as far as I can bring up chump blockers and kill 2 toughness guys. Now, he's not running my list, that's for sure, because I got rid of that a long time ago. I want to say he was actually one of the very first cuts that I made to the deck. Let's see, I'm actually going to search up a flyer to attack with. This is good one on Zealot and Vec also. It's just about the same. Can we get a free land out of it? Unfortunately, it's like 1 of 4. So it's not like it's super reliable. I definitely feel that that particular card could be something else. I'm not saying it's terrible, just I do like it. It's just when you're not setting your deck up, it's definitely a lot worse. Let's see, this is 3, 4 mana. Alright, so I can double search this turn. I think that should be it. I'm not sure what he's not. I mean, we're basically drawing 3 cards a turn, and he seemed to agree with me. Alright, we'll get one last game in here. Well, this is sort of a mulligan. And the reason why I say that is because, again, we get Karavic's Torch, which doesn't do us a whole lot of good. I think we just played this guy. I think he was running Blue-Red Storm. Oh, but he's playing Burn. So he's definitely not going to be happy about my first couple of turns here. Not quite sure what I want to do. I think I maybe should have just grabbed another Glimmer Post. I guess we'll see. Because my sequence of turns, what I'd like to do is like Cloud Post, then like Glimmer Post, then use Boris Garrison, because then it's basically a free card. Because we've basically negated 2 burn spells just by dropping lands. And again, he needs to read exactly what I'm casting. Wondering, do I need to kill this guy? And actually he kind of does, because if he lives, I'm going to be able to get Rift Watchers, which is actually just horrendous for a burn player. Gaining 4 life and being able to take basically 6 points of life out of him, that is not ever a good thing. I'm definitely going to be playing Glimmer Post here, as long as I live. There's a possibility he could go Mountain, Bolt, Chain Lightning, Fire Blast, and I would be dead. Yeah. This actually, I feel that this matchup is a good matchup. Unfortunately, Burn has really fallen out of flavor. I think I've played against it a couple times in the tournament practice room, and I have been watching the daily events. I haven't seen, I think I've seen 1 Burn player in the daily events. It's kind of funny because it's, well, and the reason is because Glimmer Post, Blue-Red Post, I mean, the post decks basically just get to negate an entire card. This is a perfect example. You know, we're playing a very slow, control-ish red-white deck, and yet, basically, because we're playing 8 lands, you know, his strategy of winning, or his entire deck, is very hard to win with. That's even worse for him. This is... I guess this is like his nightmare matchup, I guess is the easiest way to explain it. And I honestly, I feel like if my opponent concedes here in the next turn or 2, I would not blame him. Especially after I search out a Rift Watcher, and then another Rift Watcher. Basically, the Children of Corliss are basically a free healing salve. And by that I mean he has to use some sort of 3-point burn spell on him before he can do me any damage. Not quite sure what he's going to cast for 3 mana. Unless he's got Flame Rift Bolt Fire Blast, but that doesn't actually work for him. Because I can just sack the Children of Corliss before the last spell resolves. So Sticker Shock has Rebound, so we definitely don't want this to rebound, and so we're going to sack him, so that way the spell fizzles due to no targets, and it won't come back. But I'm still fairly sure my opponent's going to concede here as soon as I start searching out Rift Watchers. And then I use Boris Garrison to bounce Glimmer Post. I would concede. It's pretty tough to come back. I can sort of just see the frustration on his face going, "Are you kidding me?" Sadly, I'm not. He's probably thinking to himself, this deck pretty much only beats my deck and nothing else. And there's some truth to that. At least for now. Stops to read the Rebel. I'm going to gain a bunch more life again. Yeah, not only am I drawing an extra card each turn basically with Defiant Falcon, I'm also negating the card that he draws with a life gain. So this particular matchup, again, I'm not sure if I've quite emphasized it enough. This is sort of like being kicked in the nuts with a steel-toed boot. I'm not sure why he has Volcanic Blast. I'm not sure why I can't count my mana properly. He doesn't really have any artifacts. Note to self, if we're playing the Rav bounce lands, make sure you count your mana correctly. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 mana, right? 1, 2. This is 3, so it's 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think I can just double torch for the win. So unless he lays a Glimmer Post, even if he lays a Glimmer Post, actually, I'm still killing him. We'd have to lay 2 Glimmer Posts. So somehow in his mono red burn deck, where he needs to deal 16 points of damage with 2 cards and 3 lands. Which, thankfully, I don't know how that would happen. I will say this, I do like the Karavic's Torch plan. Just because we sort of get in for some, you get in for a couple points of damage and they're suddenly at 15 or 16, and then you can just torch them out over the next 2 turns. I feel that the torch should probably be in a more aggressive version with Bone Splitters. I'm not sure what else would go in there, but well, again, the white-red Rebel deck, it seems okay. I did like the interactions with Death Spark. I really did like the interactions with Death Spark and chumping a guy basically with your searchers, and then using Zealot and Vec to possibly take out 2 toughness guys, or even if there were a bunch of 1/1s, you could use it over and over and over again. Didn't see Ulamog's Crusher ever gonna make an impact basically, except the time that I discarded them. Karavic's Torches did make an impact in that I was able to at least win that last game with back-to-back torches. So it might be something I might consider if I decide to use prophetic, I think they're called prophetic prisms, as mana fixing, sort of like what the what currently the blue-red and blue-black post decks use. If I decide to go 3 color, I realize it seems kind of stretching it to go 3 color, because first off you're running 8 colorless lands, second off you only have 3 Terramorphic Expanses, and the deck is already pretty super slow, so running more Terramorphic Expanses or Evolving Wilds to fix your mana isn't necessarily the greatest idea. And only running, like, say 4 Prophetic Prisms, or if you're going to run 4 Prophetic Prisms and 4 Expedition Map, you're unfortunately using what I consider your 10 free slots on 8 mana fixing cards, or at least 8 searchers. I guess Expedition Map is more of a searcher for Cloud Post. So again, just a test deck, seemed to be okay. For those of you that like deck lists, I'll go ahead and post it in the next post. As far as the websites that I go to, MTG Salvation and PDC Magic, and I'll post these lists, and feel free to edit them, make suggestions. Unless I come through something breakthrough, or unless I can think of something very breakthrough for the white-green version of it, I think I am just going to focus on the white-black version, maybe splash red for Karavic's Torches because I did like it. But I'm not that sure yet. I have to see how many slots and sort of see where our numbers are at. So until next time.